Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. It's Niall, and I'm delighted to be joined by a returning face to ESBR, Danny Gilfillan. And we're here reacting to what we've just seen from Las Vegas as David Benavidez has won in his light heavyweight debut. Of course, the former super middleweight world champion moving up, and he's beaten a former light heavyweight world champion in Alexander Gvozdyk by unanimous decision. Yeah, Danny, as I say, welcome back. Good to see you. Let's jump straight into it. What are your thoughts on that one? The performance and the win. Are you surprised with anything, or was it as expected?
I expected Benavidez to win, definitely, and good to be back now. But a couple of things surprised me in the fight. I was expecting Gvozdyk to maybe get off to a better start. I thought maybe the fight might look a bit like the Caleb Plant fight, where Benavidez comes from, I wouldn't maybe say to the extent of the Plant fight. Caleb Plant probably took most of the majority of the first half of the fight, but Gvozdyk would nick a couple of the rounds, but Benavidez started like a house on fire. After a minute, I was thinking, there's no way Gvozdyk will see the final bell here, but it actually sort of took the opposite because Benavidez looked like he tired quite drastically by the end. He really wasn't throwing anywhere near the amount of punches, but overall, I think a pretty good, solid showing for your first fight at 175 pounds. And I think the way the commentary were sort of talking about, like, oh, should he like, it's okay that he's going the distance, but we'd like to see him. Like, he's in there with, Olympic bronze medalist, the former world champion. And I know Gvozdyk had a very long time out of the ring, but he's a fresh 37. Like, it's for your first fight at light heavyweight. You can see some of the fights people have to acclimatize to new weights. I was pretty impressed with Benavidez, to be honest.
Yeah, I have to totally agree with what you said there. I thought it was a really, really good performance. As you say, he started so well, like a house on fire. The pressure, the spitefulness in the shots and the come forward, educated pressure. Gvozdyk just couldn't put a dent in him. He just had nothing to knock David Benavidez back on his heels at all, especially as the fully fledged kind of light heavyweight. But he couldn't put a dent in him, and it was a really good performance from Benavidez. It was. As you mentioned, no real surprise. We expected a David Benavidez win. He was a big favorite, but I also agree with you on what you said, and it's a big fight to take for your first fight at the weight. I was very curious to see how he looked at 175. Struggled so many years to make 168, such a big super middleweight, and yeah, I thought he looked excellent. He did fade down the stretch, which caused Gvozdyk to come back into it, but yeah, he won it well, and credit to Gvozdyk. He took some big shots. Like yourself, I don't know how he survived to the final bell. Took some massive shots, and especially those body shots. They were
Unbelievable.
crippling. Oh, so spiteful. But yeah, credit to the Ukrainian. He's seen it out, and yeah, a great win for your first out on 175 for Benavidez. So that's our reaction to the fight. Let's just move on. Before I want to ask you a couple of questions before we kind of wrap up. First of all, what do you think kind of Benavidez's ceiling is at 175? Do you think he's here to stay now? And how well do you think he's doing? Because it's a strange division. Obviously, you've got the top two, undoubtedly. And then after that, I know you've got your Joshua Buatsi's, your Anthony Yards, Callum Smith knocking about, but it's not the strongest division at all. Definitely not what it used to be. So I suppose a bit of a double-sided question. Could you see Benavidez kind of having success against either Bivol or Beterbiev, who are going to fight, of course, for undisputed? Could he win a world title? And how well do you see him faring against the rest of the division going forward?
I think what you say about the 175 division as a whole is it's a very top heavy division. You've got two of the best fighters in the sport, and then it's a fairly steep sort of decline after that. And I'm not sure, to be honest. I see Benavidez' long-term future there. I think if that Canelo Alvarez fight was put together, he would drain himself back down to 168 without question. In terms of those two names, Beterbiev and Bivol. I mean, him versus Beterbiev is an absolute bloodbath of a fight. Like that, both men. Well, yeah, you say that Beterbiev has boxed in the back foot a couple of times, but you would imagine there's very few backward steps being taken in that. It's hard to know because with all these injuries, Beterbiev keeps picking up, and if say he was to beat Bivol and then the Benavidez fight, we're talking big hypotheticals here, was to happen what next summer, probably at the earliest. You're pushing 41 there. Like how long can you keep going? Whereas Bivol a lot fresher, a better style maybe potentially to negate Benavidez, but are you able to keep that up? I don't know. As with regards to the rest of the division, I think he would make fairly light work of most of the rest of them. I think Buatsi and Yard would maybe be competitive for 6 rounds and then just get bulldozed, to be honest. Callum Smith, I could potentially see lasting the distance with him. And yeah, from a British point of view, that's sort of your lot. But I see him. I do think that Canelo Alvarez fight will happen. I've sort of had my head swayed the last sort of couple of weeks. A few things I've read. Maybe that's fantasy talk though.
Yeah, again, I agree in terms of what you say about the champions. First of all, I think Beterbiev and Benavidez would be unbelievable while it lasted. It really would. But I could see Beterbiev getting down with the power. I just think it's too much to live up to, especially Benavidez. He won't be hard to find. He showed good kind of glimpses of defense there tonight with his head movement and his blocking, but he won't stand up to the power of Beterbiev. But as you said, the injuries and the age, who knows? Bivol, I think it'd be interesting to see how he cope with the pressure, but I think he's too class to kind of he will be able to negate him for the 12. And yeah, I have to agree in terms of Benavidez does comfortably beat the rest of a very underwhelming 175-pound division. I have to say, in my opinion as well. He's definitely the best of the rest, I think, already. Even after one fight, he beat everyone else. Just before we wrap up, you kind of led me on to my final question there. Obviously, it's we're going to talk about Canelo Alvarez, and I was going to ask you, do you think it happens next? But I suppose you said you do. So one thing I'm kind of curious about is if Canelo does kind of get him back down to 168 now, do you think that could be a game changer, couldn't it? Really, if Benavidez is draining himself back down to the 168 after going up. So if it is at super middleweight, how much of a kind of what how do you think it plays out basically if Benavidez comes back down? Does it change your opinion on how you originally thought the fight would play out?
It's an interesting point you make because obviously, like I'm not a nutritionist, but you'll always see pundits and ex-fighters and whatever say that like once you go back up and like once you go up in weight, you should really try and avoid coming back down, whatever effect it has in the body. I'm not too sure. I think it would have a negative impact on Benavidez, to be honest. I would say he's probably had to undergo a fairly unpleasant weight cut even to get to 175. I mean, I've heard reports that he can be in and around 200 pounds in the ring at times. Now, that might be slightly exaggerated, but even so, like you'd imagine to get to super middleweight, he's cutting by the guts of a couple of stone, or what's that, like 20 kg or 15 kg for the people in America. How do I see it going? I think a prime Canelo would beat Benavidez handily, but whilst Canelo's definitely not shot, or he's maybe got more left than I actually thought he did pre-Munguia, I don't think it's a prime Canelo. I would maybe lean Benavidez just to squeak past them on points, build up a bit of a lead early if he started like he did tonight. Canelo's not got the best gas tank either. I would maybe favour Benavidez to get over the line now, but I think it'll probably be one for next year. I think the talk is Canelo Crawford in Saudi. Apparently, His Excellency loves that fight, so maybe he'll make Benavidez after that. But I think we need to see it though. I think I know we're going a bit sidetracked here, but it would be a massive like it would get into blatant duck territory. Like if you to hold all four belts, I know he's up at 175 now, but I think we just need to see it.
Yeah, I just think it would be it's a game changer for me for Benavidez now to come back down. I think he would struggle. To be honest with you, as you mentioned, he struggled anyway to make 168, and as you said, probably had a tough one to get to 175. Never mind 168. So I think if he came back down, he would be really diminished. I picked kind of Benavidez before. As you mentioned, not a prime Canelo anymore. Benavidez has that pressure, that power to cause him problems. He also said Canelo, he does have more left than we thought, which I agree with, but I still think Benavidez be too young, too big, too powerful. But with coming back down, I do think it's a lot closer and makes it a lot closer. And I definitely agree we need to see it. So hopefully it does happen next year. Canelo does beat Crawford, surely. Even past his best, he beats Terence Crawford. In my opinion, he has to. So yeah, I do think for Canelo's sake, we do need to see it, to be honest. So hopefully we do. But yeah, that's all we have time for here on this reaction to David Benavidez winning his debut at light heavyweight against former world champion Alexander Gvozdyk by unanimous decision. Good performance, really good performance from Benavidez. So let us know what you think in the comments. What did you think of the performance? Can Benavidez win a world title at light heavyweight? Can he go back down and beat Canelo at super middleweight? Let us know. And as always, don't forget, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube, and follow us on all social media. Always great content coming up. And Danny, enjoyed that one and speak again.
No worries, mate. Cheers.